I think so. So welcome everybody. We're here again with Maker Parent Happy Hour. This is our 6th week of doing this, so we're so excited. And this is the first time. It's only fitting because the Maker Camp MC is a magician.
Right.
That we get to do a Magician's Edition.
Magician's Edition. We're super excited. We have an insane panelist of amazing performers, and we're gonna pick their brains. And it's gonna be crazy because you guys comment, say what's up. I think before we even start, I want to know who's watching. Tell me, put in the comments, like, where are you guys watching from? Who are you? Say what's up. If you guys don't, you're going to have to watch my robot table talk to us. There he is. You see? What's up, Mr. All right. How are you doing, dude? So we're going to wait a couple seconds so people come in and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, this is Family Maker Camp's Maker Parent Happy Hour. And we have a Magician's Edition, and it's going to be cool, right? It's going to be different.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The reason why we wanted to do this, aside from just loving our own magic community, is because this is a group of people who grew up and became creatives for a living. And I know the maker community, you guys will really appreciate that, because we have a lot of adults who make for a living.
Yep.
We have a lot of kids who aspire to make for a living. And here we have a panel of people who literally make magic for a living.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to gather them together and really talk about that. So let's start introducing our panel.
Yeah, should we do it?
Let's do it.
Well, I wanted to bounce on that for a second, because what's so cool about the Make community is like worldwide Maker Faire, and we're going to have virtually Maker Faire happening May 23rd. And like the idea, what inspired me when I first got into Maker Faire is just how people have these niches that they master, like the paper airplane guy, like all he does is paper airplanes, and he can tour the world and teach kids and teach everyone how to make the perfect paper airplane. These, like what we have here is like, they've mastered something,
Yeah.
They've learned how to make a successful career in such a specific thing,
Yeah,
and so it's pretty neat because we don't talk about magicians often in the maker community, so this is kind of fun. So
the magicians are all makers.
Oh, 100%.
So it's a really interesting topic.
And a lot of magicians don't admit it because they're secretive, but they're making stuff. They're making little gimmicks. They're working hard. It's a funny art form, because in the maker community, when we make something, we show off everything that we're making. We show the robotics, we show the electronics. Here it's like a different thing. Like, we're creating illusion and then we're hiding everything. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, I can go on forever for that. But yeah.
I made it right. You'll never see it.
For jumping in there, Mike, we wanted to start with introducing you. So we have with us Mike Pashota. We first met him actually in England at a magic convention there in South Tyneside. He is based in Los Angeles, and he is the resident magician at the Magic Castle, which is the destination for magic worldwide. He's also the 2-time winner of the Close-Up Magician of the Year and the Parlor Magician of the Year for the Academy of Magical Arts, which is a huge deal in our industry. So, guys, if you wanted to say hi real quick, Mike, and then we'll go to the next panelist, but just say hi. I wanted to also ask you, if you're a parent, how many kids you have, and a little bit of background.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for having me here. I am a parent. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old boy, both boys. And thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be part of this.
Yeah. And your kids, if I remember, are named after magicians. Is that right?
Yeah, Charlie and Max. So after Charlie Miller and Max Bellini.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Just so awesome.
Thank you so much for
thanks, Mike, for being here.
And next up, we have Jade, who we got to meet at Magic Live, which is another big convention in Las Vegas. And she immediately blew our socks off.
Yeah, she headlined and she killed. It was amazing.
I mean, just a true professional in every way, shape, and form. And also the first woman to ever win the gold medal from the International Brotherhood of Magicians.
Wow.
Which is, if you listen to the title of that organization, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
She's also been seen on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and she's doing YouTube stuff right now, which is really cool. She's adapting. So Jade, welcome. We're so excited.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you, Jade.
Mario, thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Mario and Katie. I'm so glad. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you're a parent too, right?
Yes. I have 2 children. My daughter is going to be 18 come June, off to college. We'll see.
Wow.
And a 16-year-old, soon to be a junior.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So cool. Well, thank you so much. We're really excited to include you in this conversation. And next we have Magical Nathaniel, he was brought to our attention because he was actually a former performer at the Bay Area Maker Faire.
Yep.
So some of you guys out there watching may have seen him live there. He's a 25-year-old, already award-winning magician. He's based in San Francisco, graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in applied science and theater,
That's
which is
awesome.
a very cool combination. And he's currently teaching magic online too. So it's cool. He's doing classes at virtualmagicclass.com. We'll pop that up in the comments if you guys want to follow up with him after. Welcome, Nathaniel.
Yeah, we've heard great stuff.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah. Happy to be among fellow makers.
Awesome.
Definitely. And then last but not least, we have our father-son duo. So David and Jacob Rangel, who are based out of Texas. Are you guys in Houston?
TikTok superstars hanging out.
Oh, man.
Specifically wanted to invite them because they are a father and son who work together.
Yeah.
They've traveled the globe with their act known as Curiously Enough. We've seen them personally, and they're one of our favorite fresh acts happening there.
Yeah.
So welcome, guys.
And a big pull of the heartstrings is watching a father and son do something that they both equally love so much, and just watching your act develop is really fun. Yeah, really awesome.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start the conversation with you guys. Because this is like the number one question that any magician will ever get is like, how did you get into magic, right? You guys all get that all the time. And it makes sense because it's a unique thing to do for a living. But I specifically want to know, because we're talking to parents out there, what in your upbringing encouraged you to become a magician? And also for some of you, what did you have to fight against to become a professional magician? I know Mario.
Wow, we're getting heavy, right? What is it? It's 8:37. We're getting heavy right now.
I want to get right into it.
All right. So tell them the question again, and we'll pick. Should we just have?
I know for you personally, you talk a lot about how your parents were immigrants from Italy.
Yeah.
The last thing they expected of you was to become a magician.
Yeah.
They felt like they were giving you this opportunity to make something amazing of yourself. And that wasn't the first thing that came to their mind, which, it ended up working out.
Right. Yes, that's true. My dad is very, my first language was Italian and English, like growing up, they got married in Italy, they came here and, what, do you want to be a magician when you grow up? What's the matter, you? It was a great uphill battle, but there was a great reward too. And for me, one of my greatest memories with my mom is at nighttime, we used to put an object at the center of our dinner table, and for half an hour, we would just draw it, whether it was a vase with flowers or whether it was like some random, cookie jar or something. And that little piece of art, and time, kind of got me into the arts, it was like a little foundation builder thing, and I think it's a great example of using what you have, it's like a maker spirit kind of thing. So anyway, I'm not going to take it. Let's pass it to someone. Let's start the ball rolling, man. So
let's see, Jamie, do you want to talk to there? I know in our pre-chat, I saw you shaking your head no when we asked if you had been encouraged in this art form. So I want to hear what you have to say.
I don't know about the other people, but certainly as you, Mario, my parents never thought that I would pursue the arts. And Chinese immigrant, of course, I'm sure in the back of their mind would be nice if I became a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. It's so stereotypical. However, because we were immigrants, they were so busy making a living that they really were hands off in directing my life. So that allowed me an opportunity to fall into the magic world. My first job was to work in a magic shop.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So from that, I just stayed through high school, through college. And then when I got my degree in mass communications, television specifically, I decided I had to choose. Do I pursue what I studied, or do I go down the path least chosen? And I chose magic and thought, well, I'll have a degree to prove my intelligence if I needed to. Never had to use it though. So here I am.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Kudos to you. And you know, the college thing, yeah, like it makes sense. It's something that we talk about a lot. You know, Mario and I, neither of us have college degrees. I went, just never ended up graduating. You went for a semester.
Yeah, I was going to be a teacher, and I was a teacher's aide for kids with special needs, and that's what I wanted to pursue. But then financially, I couldn't pursue it. But you know, those 2 years of being a teacher's aide is actually what shaped my children's show. You know, is that heavy 5-day-a-week one-on-one with someone. You know, that kind of shape. So it's funny how certain events you get thrown in, you know, and then you don't know how it evolves. You know,
definitely. And Nathaniel, I wanted to pose the question. You had mentioned you grew up in a creative household. So how did that shape where you ended up?
Yeah, I'm very lucky in the sense that, you know, my mom studied fashion in school, and my dad's actually an animator. He worked at Pixar and on Toy Story and Bug Time, and I'm coming up on just about 4 years. Whatever challenges we're at now, you know, I'm able to do this, and it's through the support over the years. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm really grateful to have.
And it's interesting. It's interesting because, you know, it's almost like the opposite of how I grew up. You know, like your parents are like brainstorming creatives. You know, it's so cool, and it's like it's just amazing because we're all like on the same road, right? And we all got there. It's interesting, you know. That's a whole other show. Picking your brain about your dad and Pixar and all that. I mean, that's super.
Yeah. And I think that kind of inspired me because I didn't have the money to buy these fancy magic props that are so often required. So I ended up building them myself, and that helped me be creative. Instead of reading a book and seeing exactly how it was done, I built it from scratch, and that helped me learn a lot about the mechanics of everything. So that's why I'm so happy to be a maker. So.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. And we heard such great stuff about you performing at the Bay Area Maker Faire. Like it's really cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I'm gonna pick. I have to pick Mike's brain because I know he has a unique thing too. So Mike, I want to hear your take on all this.
Well, I came from a musical family. My father is a composer. He owned a health club for 43 years. So I mean, he had his real job, but he's a man of music, and
wow,
everybody in my family is musical. I thought I would have been a rock star. That's if you would have asked me when I was 12, 13, 14, that was it for me. Like I was a guitarist. Everyone else in my family is a pianist. I didn't find magic until I was 15. And so from that point on, though, I knew what I was going to do, and I knew that it was magic for me. But my parents were pretty supportive of it, actually. Of course, they wanted me, you know, oh, get this, do this, keep your house, don't sell that, you know, always have something to fall back on. And I said, no, I don't want anything to fall back on, because what holds you back the most, what always holds me back the most is fear. That's one of the driving forces of life. The inability to act because of it, or you know, I got into Joseph Campbell as a young man, and still am, but you know, he said, follow your bliss and doors will open for you that would not open for anybody else. Follow your bliss and don't be afraid. And so I modeled my life after that.
So, amen.
Damn, dude, if I had a truth bomb button, like
it's so true.
It is really true.
I mean, you know, when you hang on to different aspects of your life, like the day job, for example, you're never going to get to where you want to be. Like you got to dive in, right? Like
I've been trapped numerous times in my life, and I've had jobs, and I've had good jobs that have offered me big promotions. And you know, I was running gyms for LA Fitness, Bally's before that, then LA Fitness when I moved out here to pursue magic. And then I started working 14 hours a day, and then they offered me a vice president position, which was money. I never thought I'd get in a job like that. And I quit. And I said, no, I can't do that. I can't take that job because my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was like, well, maybe just do it for a year and save up. And I said, nah, after a year, now we have car payments and a house payment. And it's never that. It's never you save up for a year and then follow your dream. It's you either are, I'm out here to follow my dream or I'm not. And so if I take that job, I'm saying I'm not.
Yeah.
No, it's so true.
It reminds me of us, homeschooling our kids. Like, it was a big fear thing because we were wrapped around the educational system, and that's when we planned our tours when school wasn't happening, and we had to create this jump where I was kind of freaked out.
Yeah, no, it's like when our kids were born. Our kids are 5 and 8 now. But when our children were born, I had this idea in my head that I needed to keep my family life, like my kid life, as separate as possible from our business life. Like, I thought that's how you were supposed to do it. Everyone always talks about the balance. And I thought that meant that this had to be on this side and this had to be on this side. And it was such a failure for me. Like, I could not do anything well. I couldn't raise the kids well. I couldn't do the business well because they were too far apart. And I realized, like, you got to just mash all your stuff together sometimes and like jump in, and we bring our kids on tour with us. It's completely nuts, and there's moments of absolute chaos, but it's the only way. I've become so productive because of that, and they drive me. They drive me.
So you're already homeschooling, and for me, this pandemic has been like, now we're teachers now. Well, it turns out I'm not. I'm not a teacher, and
it's tough because you guys didn't choose this. Like, for us, when people say they're homeschooling now, it's like, it's something else because you didn't choose that. It happened to you, and you didn't have the chance to even wrap your head around it before you were thrown into it. So I feel for all you parents out there being thrown into this area right now.
Yeah. And this is a great segue because the Rangels, they are literally performer family, so like they're taking it to the other level where like they're both performing, so I want to hear your take, Father, how what do you feel with all this stuff going on?
I've become full circle. I started performing in the living room and now I'm performing in the living room. So it's like a full circle transition. I was pretty lucky with Jake. Do you want to hear how I got started or how we got started?
Let's hear it both.
Okay. So I come from a big blue collar family. My dad went to work at 4:30 in the morning every morning, that kind of thing. Didn't have graveyard shifts, but they were always very supportive of what I did. For me, I saw Danny Kaye on TV, and he was doing a dance routine in a tuxedo, and I thought I kind of want that job. And I just fell in love with performing, and and then I like to tinker and make things too, like whether it's plumbing or HVAC or electrical. So any jobs I took, kind of I was like, you're gonna give me money for working on your sink? That's amazing. So I was always like, I was pretty lucky in that aspect. Like, I never felt like weighted. Like, oh, I gotta quit. I would just think of routines. Like I'd be doing something like, oh yeah, I could do this tap routine, or just weird stuff like that. And then magic, the magic's kind of generic. I don't even see that. I got a magic kit when I was a kid, the Harry Blackstone magic kit.
Oh wow!
Look at that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then that kind of just, once, and I guess everybody here can speak to that. Once magic sinks its teeth into you, and you let it, it's like impossible to let go. And then with Jake, I was performing a show, and I had an assistant that would bring me things, and she had to quit because she had like a kind of like a modeling gig. And so I was like, oh, I gotta find somebody. So I'm on the phone, and he was about 12. I think you're 12. Maybe 11. I could be wrong. And he got kind of like, kind of to stop me, and he's like, I know the act. I know it. I can bring you jokes. And I was like, okay. So I dressed him as I was in a tux. It was like a circus kind of a theme, and he was a bellboy. Yeah. And he was just supposed to bring me like a silk from like point A to point B, and but he was like confident at first, but as soon as he gets out there and the lights hit him, he freezes, right? And he just kind of rushes really fast and like throws me this silk, like just throws it. And I barely catch it. But the audience laughed like it was a bit, like it was a gag. And I just remember his face turning to the people like, oh, I'm funny. And then he went back and he had to bring me 3 silks. And every silk he just chunked at me like harder each time. And it kind of like was this weird bit, like this kind of like, and it was crazy to me because like he just like thought of that in spur of the moment. Like, for him, I guess when he saw that laughter hit him, it was like, that was it. He was like, I'm gonna do it. And then like, you know, when we were at a hotel afterwards and they brought us, you know how hotel desserts look gorgeous, even though it's a little bitty chocolate cake. And they brought him this cake that was, you know, just nice little aside. He's like, this is our food. This is amazing. I want to do this forever. And then you know, I thought it would fade. I thought, you know what? It's like, you know, because you never know. Because like I have a son and a daughter, and I used to be 100% supportive of anything, whether it's like, oh, it's karate this week or a trumpet the next week. You want them to find their thing, and it's okay for them to dip their toe in everything. And I'm like pro that. Like, oh, you want to play guitar? Let's get you a guitar. Oh, you want to do this? Let's do this. You want to paint? Let's do that.
Yeah.
And you know, they might take it, might not. It's just fun to do. And I always thought like, oh, he's gonna lose interest.
That's wild. So like you said, you too, huh?
Yeah. If my kids are interested in any sort of artistic thing, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Whatever you're into right now, let's do it.
So we have a question.
I have
That's all. We got a question from the audience. I want to throw at you guys. So this is Joshua Ray is asking, what about those who are pursuing magic alongside the day job, finding magic later in life? I have my teaching job and magic is now such a part of my avocation. It's a passion alongside my teaching career. Any advice for someone who's the part-time professional magician? Because Josh, we know Josh. I know he's not going to give up the teaching. It's a super passion for him.
It is.
But he's also super passionate about magic.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to say?
I think some of the greatest magicians of all time are amateurs. And it allows you to do things that being a professional doesn't allow you to do. An amateur doesn't mean less skilled. It means the lover of. It just, you don't do it for a living. That allows you to have a range of material that I can never have. I do 40 shows a week sometimes. So I have material that works and I create new material and I bring it in and I test it and that. But when you do it for the love of it, boy, you are free to explore so many aspects of it and touch people in ways that I can't.
Yeah, that's really well said. I mean, it's true, and it is true, because when you think amateur, you think not good enough, but it's the opposite. I cut in because this is a really great question, and I wanted to read it to you guys, and maybe you guys could. But someone said, "Greetings from Iowa. Struggling to keep my 15-year-old engaged in schoolwork, but damn, he's getting good at manipulation. You know, with the billiard balls. You know." They said, he seems to be practicing his magic 2 to 3 hours a day. That's okay, right? Yeah. Please help me feel less guilty. Sorry to be missing Abercorn this year. So that's really interesting, you know? Because what do you feel about that, you know? Because
if he wants to take it slow, 3 hours a day is fine.
Taking it slow. This is a really good point.
Yeah.
For us as homeschoolers, it's something that I've been trying to tell people who ask me is like, you know, it's not all about the academic work. You know, and maybe this is an opportunity right now to delve into these things that they might not have had a chance to otherwise with a full school schedule. And I would never feel guilty. I understand the guilt because I do go through many days like that where I'm like, oh man, we didn't do any math or any science or any reading today. My kid's going to fall so behind. But in reality, they changed the oil on the VW bus. Like they did something that I never learned how to do, and I'm an almost 40-year-old woman. You know, what do you guys have to say? I'm gonna pass it on. Jade, you want?
Yeah, I was thinking about Jade. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm all for that. It's a good balance. You know, remember the old days, we used to have homemaking, we had wood shop, and we had all the other and music lessons. Now you seem to have to pay if you wanted arts or anything outside of the academic curriculum, which I think does not make for a well-balanced person. So the fact that they changed oil or learned how to do something different, how to make a bed, how to sew, how to do build something, how to paint, you know, there are techniques. I think all those things will enrich that child's life at some point.
Yeah, I feel that.
And Nathaniel, I know you mentioned that you got into magic very young. I think you were 3 when you first started doing it. So how is that the balance for you? I mean, you got a degree in applied math, right? In addition to theater. So like, how did you maintain all of those things at once?
Yeah, you know, it's really a case of finding a balance. And I think, you know, now what's great is because we have so much time indoors, anything away from screens is, you know, where you get to practice is great. And so back when I was learning magic, that wasn't so much the case. So you get to, you know, read books all the time, and I think it really is trying to you know, separate the magic. You know, when I was in, you know, middle school, that was it. I was living and breathing it, and it was fantastic. But I think finding that balance where you can, especially now because it is my job and I love it, but I have to sometimes, you know, find ways in which I can, you know, do other things, you know. So I love escape rooms. I'm really into puzzles, you know, thinking creatively. And so, you know, yeah. So really anything that, you know, you're able to do creatively that you have fun with, and just keeping that balance is I think really
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a true maker spirit kind of thing. And you know, and the Rangels, listen, I saw your Facebook newsfeed last week, you two, all right? With the string and the paint can and painting up and all that craziness. You're a great father, you know that? You really are, because you're always doing creative stuff. And I love seeing that stuff, you know? It's really awesome.
And you guys, I think we had a conversation. Jake, were you homeschooled, or are you homeschooled, or at some point you were homeschooled or something like that?
I was homeschooled for junior high, so 7th, 8th grade.
Okay.
Because I wasn't getting like as much magic time and other skills I wanted to pursue. But I actually go to a high school now that's a career and technical high school, so I get to pursue my welding career on HVAC and electrical. So I learned all these things, and I've gotten all these, and I've gotten all these certifications. Like I fixed the AC the other day when it broke at the house.
Yeah.
Well,
You're just
my house, dude. My AC not working. Please. No, that's great. So that you learn a trade, you know, like that's great. That's powerful. You know, those kind of jobs, it doesn't matter what recession, everyone's got to get their electrical fixed. You know, those are great things. Yeah. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So
I wanted to ask. Go ahead. Who's that?
This Jake.
I was gonna say like the balance thing. Like, you know, I think sometimes we fall in a trap of like we have to balance the day out with like 4 hours of curriculum and then 4 hours of art. And you know, some days it's gonna be an art day. You know, as long as I mean, I think sometimes we focus on 24 hours. Like I didn't work out today, or I didn't do this today. But that's okay if you work out 25 the other days, or 15 days, or 10 days. That's balance. And I think sometimes we get to fall in the trap of like the 24-hour balance. And it's okay, like if you know you have a day change in oil, because you'll never forget that day, right? The first time you change oil. That'll stay with you forever.
Well, that's part of this is why, like, you know, we reached out to you guys, you know, especially, you know, like, is because I've had personal experiences with you guys where something about parenting came out and something about caring came out, you know, where it didn't matter what we were talking about. The fact that you're concerned, you know, that statement alone is so powerful, you know, that's like the essence of life, you know, is like to help, you know, and like, I saw a picture of my daughter. She started an Instagram page. I don't know why. Katie's in charge of it, you know, and she's in charge of like the comments and all that. But there was a picture of her like holding a puppet or something. And it was just like, damn, like she looks so old, you know, like she's getting big. Like it's like so quick, you know, like, you know, Mike, you 8-year-old, and then Jade, it's like they're already almost ready to go to college, or they're already in college. It's a, you know, we gotta just hold on. You know?
Fleeting.
Yeah.
It's fleeting.
Kids getting older are super annoying. It's super annoying to me when they get older.
Fast.
You're only saying that because he's sitting right next to you. But,
well, we're at the 9 o'clock mark.
Yeah, I wanted to throw a question at you guys because I know it's relevant to a lot of people out there watching. If they have a child, if there are parents out there who have a child who is interested in somehow pursuing the arts in some way, what is your advice to that child? And also, maybe more importantly, what is your advice to that parent? Who wants to start us off? Mike?
Well, you can't pick what your kids are into. And even if you want to, like if you want your kids to be a lawyer, that's not up to you. If I want my kids to be a magician, that's not up to me. Of course, I encourage the arts. I want my kids to be artists. I won't be an unhappy parent for that because I am that and I like that. But if they don't want to do that, that's not up to me. I get to encourage their interests, and that's my job as a parent, is to encourage what they're into, not to push my things onto them. Now, I would love if one of my boys wants to do magic with me, though. I think you
have either of them shown any interest at all?
My youngest, my 4-year-old, seems pretty into it, and he comes up with magic tricks of his own, and half the times they're real things, and I'm like, oh, that's a real routine, and let me show it to you. And like, it's really cool.
It's great.
I know ours are our test audiences. Sometimes they're like very reluctant test audiences.
They're always reluctant. They don't want to see it.
They're like, that's not cool at all. But that's awesome. And I have a feeling all of you guys, like, there's no non-supportive parental advice coming from any of you. Yeah. But no, that's awesome. And I think people need to hear more of that, you know, because there is that internal struggle of wanting to make sure your kids are getting fed in the right direction. And, you know, sometimes like the norm sneaks in and tries to tell you like, no, that's not the right path. That's going to be the hard path. Don't let them go down that path. And I personally, you know, every once in a while, I have to remind myself, like, we're not living a normal life. We're living something off the beaten path. We are happy, and I want them to be happy, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
That's just
find what lights their fire, and you just stoke it. That's it.
Yeah.
Something's going to light their fire. You know, for me, it was magic, but for them, it might be drawing. It might be music. It might be dancing. I don't know what it is, but it might be math. I'm going to stoke whatever that fire is, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Jade, what do you feel about that? I know your kids are a little older than ours.
Well, what I wanted to say is that when they were younger, I tried to give them the opportunity to come on stage and help me and get used to being on stage. But as they got older, the more they decided magic is not the thing they wanted to. Every time I would drag them to the magic show, they'd roll their eyes and say, "Oh, no, not another magic show." So it's sad, but I also realize I can't twist their arms to love something that I love. And like Mike said, I will also encourage them to find their own passion and encourage it and develop it that way.
Yeah. It's very well said. And I feel that struggle, you know, in your voice, like, because I know it's like I want Gigi to perform, you know, and I know that I have to let that go, you know, because I want to be a good parent, you know, and so like, but I know that feeling of like, you know, please come on stage. Let's rock this.
I know, but then we always say they're going to revolt against us and become like accountants or something, you know? It's the only way.
My only real fear is that they never find that passion. That's the fear, is that they don't find anything that makes them feel the way that magic makes me feel. Because I know how good that is.
Exactly, Mike, right?
That's all I care. Passion. I want you to find something that makes you feel that way, the way that I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, well said.
At the end of the day, it's not the money.
Right. Yeah, never for me. If it was about the money, I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
I think we're all on that same boat. Yeah.
That was the best thing for me was because him growing up, everything was like instant gratification, and when he really got into like performing, he got to see how hard. No, it was hard work, and we would work these gigs like, I mean, no stage, in the corner of a room.
Go to
and you're like, you ended, and you're like, woo, that was a gig.
I know that feeling,
good for me. Yeah, but it was good, then they can respect it. I would say if someone, the only advice I'd have is someone or a child who was diving into any art form, it's to let them know that it's okay not to be good right away. It's okay to be bad and learn and really appreciate it. Because it's hard. It's not like something that you just. I'll tell you a funny story with him because he's the worst at instant gratification. He's the worst. So when he was like 5, we're at a boardwalk, boardwalk on off the ocean, and he wanted to play this water gun game where you fill up the balloon on the clown or the horse. And the horse moves. He wanted to play, but I didn't want to play because it was like a lot. It was like $10, right? And I was being cheap, and I said, "I'm not paying the $10 so you can win some big bear that's going to stand in the corner. I'm not doing it." So he threw a fit. I mean, like a fit. And he was like, I can win. And then all these teenagers, these boys that are now his age, run up to this horse race thing, and they're like, "Let's all do it." And I go, "You know what? I am going to pay. I'm going to give you the $10 so you can see how hard it is." Right? So I give the $10. He's like 5, right? He wins. He wins the race.
That didn't help.
And then he goes, "I told you I'd win. I told you I wanted it. I believed." And the guy pulls down the big bear and gives it to him, and I'm holding this big bear going, "Well, that was a parenting fail, I guess. I mean, that happened."
That's great.
I guess the kids have to win sometimes, right?
That's a really great story.
I was oh man. I thought I was going to be like a really good parent and see, things are hard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man.
I think that's the definition of parenting. Your story.
You're wrong.
It never works out.
But before I wanted to say a few things. Howie Marmer, he was our guest on Friday. He's an amazing magician out of Georgia. He said, because we were talking about practicing and stuff. What did he say? He said, "Go to your room and don't come out until you're funny." That's what I should do for my kids, right? Go to your room and practice. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Jeff Lanes. Jeff Lanes is an amazing guy out of Texas. We want to just say, what's up, man? It means a lot that you're tuning in. Jennifer Ray, Josh Ray, thank you. Mark Fishman, all these people out there, all different parts of the country. It means a lot that you guys all tuned in today with us.
So I think, we're going to wrap it up. If any of you have any last thoughts, just that one last tidbit you want to leave everyone with, it can be on any topic.
Yeah.
I'm going to go around the panel and Jade, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, I have teenagers, and what I'm realizing, and since you have younger kids, this is the thing that I didn't work on with them when they were younger. In school, they tell you, use your feeling words. Culturally, we didn't use it, so I don't know, but I just repeat it. Use your feeling words when they're mad and they stomp off. You know what? Get those opportunities and have them talk to you and have them learn how to express their feelings. Because what it does is, in the end, it makes them a better communicator and listener. Because you're young kids, and I realized I missed my opportunity. Now we're working on it now. And they're teenagers, which makes it extra difficult.
Wow, man, that's heavy. Good
advice.
That's heavy.
You guys.
You're killing me right now.
I love it. And just to give everyone who's watching a little backstory, we did a little pre-call a few hours ago, and right smack dab in the middle of it, we've got screaming downstairs, doors slamming. Our 5-year-old is a massive, trying to punch.
They were wearing their karate outfits, and they were fighting.
It was
we're having a meeting, and I'm just jetting off like separating them and come back up, and then anyway.
No, but I realized, because what Jade is talking about, like I realized, like I had spent the morning kind of ignoring them, you know, like I'd given them their computers to work on. I had stuff I needed to do. I was, you know, I was like, throughout the morning. They needed just that like 15 minutes of me sitting there, giving them my full attention, and it changed the rest of the day. They have not come up and interrupted this session. That's crazy.
Yeah. And
you know, it's true. You give them that emotion, they give it back, and it's.
But I feel like we learn this lesson every day. It's not like riding a bike where like 10 years go by and you just ride, you know, it's like every day.
I'm terrible at
But anyway, we'll talk forever with this. But Nathaniel too, man, we wanted to hear any like closing thoughts, and also, anything. Let us know, man. We're so happy that you're here with us too, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. You know, we're in this weird time, and I think it's great that we have an opportunity to learn a new skill. You know, like coding or Arduino. That's something I've been playing with, or reading a book, or you know, just learning something. So if you're interested in learning magic, now is a great time. There's wonderful resources. I recommend everyone, you know, back before all of this, go to the library, but the library is still operating. You can oftentimes check out books online. And so audiobooks or anything like that. So they're a wonderful resource. So I highly recommend people to take advantage of those resources and learn something new during this time. So.
That's a great point.
I love it. I love it. And
100%.
That's really true. Libraries are still functioning. There's a lot of cool stuff going on virtually. And it is a resource that like we love so much when it's open to the public, but there's so much going on behind the scenes right now. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
This is sponsored by, I just did a show for the Contra Costa Library. So they're still doing events. Yeah. And so support the library as well. So.
Without a doubt.
All right.
All right, come on. Who's next over there? Who we got, Mike?
Well, I quoted Joseph Campbell earlier. I said, follow your bliss and doors will open for you that would not open for anybody else. So I'll end with another quote of his, which has gotten me through a lot. And that is, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasures that you seek. And so when you're afraid of something or pursuing something new, that's probably the thing. When you're comfortable, you're staying still.
Absolutely.
So I love you, Mike. You're speaking truth, dude. You're from England too. Always. That makes so much sense for so many, in all directions.
I mean, that's one of the reasons like we fell in love with Mike's performance is because he doesn't just do magic, he's storytelling.
Oh yeah, your storytelling is so impactful, even long after the show's over.
Those words are what we remember, even beyond like the amazing manipulation and stuff. Like I
still think about that story you told with the arrows and the trees and it's like, and that's it's just, that's magic, just like when you see something vanish, like telling a story, is magic in the way you tell it, without a doubt.
All art is magic, right? Not all art is magic. It just is anything that changes the consciousness, and writing in particular. I could put my ideas in somebody's head 1,000 years from now. And if their internal dictionary is the same as mine, then my voice could be in their mind. That's amazing. Yeah. That's magic.
That is amazing. That is
art is magic.
That's like, I've been trying to convince our 8-year-old to journal through this whole pandemic because it's such a crazy thing we're living through. And I'm like, and the only thing that really got her to do it is the idea that like her great-great-grandchildren might come across this journal one day. Because she just read Anne Frank's diary and it impacted her so much, and like the chance that someone else could have this glimpse into a world that they didn't know, like that's what drove her. So that's a really, really good point.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you again. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, Rangels.
Okay.
Houston, Texas.
I will give you my parenting tip I learned through the quarantine for his schooling. He doesn't understand early.
No, I don't.
So if I say get up early, he doesn't know what that is.
That's noon.
It could be noon. I have to say, I need you up by 9:45. Do you understand? 9:45. And he's like, yes. If not, if I don't give him a goal or a specific, it's not happening. Like, cause like the other night, like I said, I need you to go to bed at a decent hour. And then like at 3 a.m. he wakes me up because he's playing Call of Duty, and I'm like, it's 3 a.m. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, yeah, it's too early. It's just 3.
It's
like,
now.
No, it's not. No, by 2. So just to get his work done, I have to be very specific with him.
Oh, to be young.
The other advice would
again.
It's all
but and then the creative thing that I could offer is like, because he was thrown a lot of work to get accomplished in a short amount of time because of all this craziness.
I'm a junior in high school, a lot of end of the year.
So I had to and my daughter too, they were given a bunch of work in a short amount of time. And then I just would, when the weekend would come, and I still remember we're still a family, we still have fun. So like I would, I just say, what's your goal? What do you want to do? If you could finish all this work, what would you like to do? And my daughter was the one who wanted to do the painting. She's like, I want to try this painting idea. I was like, well, that's what we're going to do. And then we just devoted, a day to that. And just to give them something to look forward to, because everything's kind of, who knows, man. Just enjoy the ride, I guess. It's so crazy.
No guessing. You're right on point, man. 100%. Enjoy the ride. I mean, this was just so good. And having all of you here together, it's like you forget about the quarantine. You forget about the pandemic. It's like almost like we're all in the same room for real, And
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Our amazing panelists. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watched live. Share it. Tune in again next week. We're doing all this stuff, all week long, follow along, join the Family Maker Camp Facebook group, and let's just continue this conversation. It's been so awesome for us.
100%.
Have a wonderful night, and until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching, tuning in.